As the number 6 Phoenix Suns prepare to take on the Timberwolves in the first round of the NBA playoffs, I am Eliav Kabay, catching up with the Athletics' Doug Howler. And Doug, we got the stars, we got the role players, the coaches, we got everything in this first round. And we just saw the Suns take on the Timberwolves in the final game of the regular season. How much can we really take away from that game into this postseason basketball?
Not one thing.
Great.
Postseason, totally different animal. You know, I do think it's significant that the Suns have beaten Minnesota all 3 times, and not only beaten them, but beaten them substantially by double digits each time. I think that's a factor, but really the last game of the season, everything resets. And you don't think that Minnesota, since that game has ended, has really kind of looked at things. They're going to come out a different team. But like I said, I do think it's a good matchup for the Suns. We've all season kind of figured out, or trying to figure out who this team is. And I don't know if we still have the answer to that, but I do know of all the matchups, this is probably the best one for them.
And the newly extended Grayson Allen did mention a little bit about how different that postseason basketball really is.
It gets a lot more physical, and the mental side of it, with teams knowing every tendency, play call, adjustment, whatever it is, a little bit more. There's more time to prepare. Like, both teams here have a week to prepare for the other team, so you're more disruptive, more physical, and the intensity of the game picks up.
So since December 28th, the Suns are 7th in offensive rating and 10th in defensive rating. Obviously, a big part of that is Bradley Beal being fully healthy, averaging almost 27 points a game in the last 5. Is there just a different chip on his shoulder right now?
It looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think he's kind of been, I don't want to say the X factor, but I think Brad coming into this team, it was Devin Booker's team, it's Kevin Durant's team. Where does he fit? And he gets off, and then he gets started, and then there's injuries, and it just took him a long time to kind of figure out what his role was. And I think we're starting to see that. What I like about him is not only is he become a lead guard, a distributor, he's defending the best perimeter player on the other team. He's just brought some fire. And they have really needed that fire, haven't they?
Yeah.
And I think that's really stood out. He's made them a better team. I think, from the fourth quarter of the Sacramento game, the Minnesota game, that might be the best I've seen them look, at least for a long time. So he's been huge. He's the reason they're not in the play-in tournament, and he's going to have to keep that up if they're going to do anything in the playoffs.
He was in I think a little bit more of a difficult spot this year. He's the guy on the team who's probably sacrificing the most of his usual game to be a part of this group. I don't think people were talking about him as much defensively before this year. He's been great for us defensively and guarding point of attack mostly in the second half of the season. Offensively, being a big-time driver and paint toucher and facilitator for us.
Right, it's not easy to be the third guy, and I think the third guy not in talent, but just in usage. You come to a team with Devin and Kevin, who are 2 of the league's best scorers, and someone has to sacrifice, and so he's done that. But now he understands, he's striking a better balance of understanding he's the only Brad Beal we have. There's not a guy like him on our team or in the league that can do the things that he can do, and he's just picking the right time to show everyone what he's capable of.
Now, you mentioned X Factor, Doug. Now, when you said that, the first person that came to mind for me was Jusuf Nurkic. I mean, he's going to have to make the big guys and Rudy Gobert, Cat work on that side of the ball. Also, Royce O'Neal, if he can space the floor for these Suns, it can be a big factor. Who is your X Factor, though?
I think those are 2 excellent choices, but I'm going to go with Frank Vogel.
Okay.
First year here, and I think he has a lot of pressure on him, right? I mean, Matt Ishbia is demanding. Don't think for a second that if they fall short that he's just going to run it back with the same group. I'm not saying that his job is in jeopardy or anything, but I think this is a big postseason for him. I think it's kind of to his advantage that the game kind of slows down in the postseason a little bit. He's more of a defensive-minded coach. We know that, but I really want to see what he does. It's such a huge chess match in the playoffs, from game 1 to game 2, from game 3 to game 4. What changes do you make? This is his time to really to shine, and I'm really interested to see how he does.
The last 10 games of our season has prepared us for that. We've gotten our tails kicked a few times, quite frankly, and there's been lessons learned in those types of situations that I think have helped strengthen us. I think we showed more offensive toughness the final 3 games of the year than we had, in some of the prior games.
Now, I'm going to take some of the pressure off you because we're going into predictions. I'll go first. I'll go Suns in 6, not only because they get that 6th game at home, but because I do think the veteran leadership on this Suns team is just a little bit stronger than that Minnesota team and Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and others. What's your prediction?
It's such an odd thing because Minnesota's had one of the best seasons in their history. I mean, in contention for the #1 seed, and all of a sudden we're bouncing them out of the first round, and they have home court advantage. It makes no sense. Yeah. But with the matchup the way it is, that is my first thought in 6. I think the Suns have a chance to win in 6, only because of the matchup. And it just seems like from what we've seen, it favors the Suns. But it doesn't sit well with me. I mean, yeah, I mean, Minnesota is a talented team, but I do think the Suns have a slight advantage.
Well, that's why we love the NBA. It's going to be an exciting first round for Doug Howler. I'm Eliav. Goodbye.